Hello everyone, this is James Song here. Welcome to my video. Today we are covering a writing section, and writing has two questions in TOEFL test. As you can see on the screen, question 1 of 2, and there will be a question 2 of 2, of course. So today, as you can see on the screen, we are covering integrated writing. Just for those of you who is not familiar with the format of the integrated writing part of the writing section in the TOEFL test, let me go through the directions of this question, okay? So you have 20 minutes to plan and write your response. So 20 minutes limit, time limit to write your essay, okay? Write your answer. Your response, your essay, will be judged on the basis of the quality of your writing. So, will be content, grammar, of course, okay? And development. And on how well your response presents the point in the lecture. So lecture here is referring to the listening passage, okay? As you'll find out soon. And the relationship to the reading passage. So the task is you are doing summarization of listening passage, and by writing that summarization, you also need to show the relationship to the reading passage. So how it relates to reading passage, okay? So I'll show you exactly how you can do that. And question kind of emphasize once again just what I told you just now. It's kind of repeating itself, okay? Making sure the people who are taking the test do the task right just by following the directions. So question, summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard. So it's even more direct than that, right? Exactly what I said. So, lecture you just heard, summarize that. And it even show you the relationship. In this question, most of the time, probably 85% or 90% of the time, that contents in your listening will cast out on the points made in the reading, okay? So listening lecture will oppose the points made in the reading passage, okay? So we need to write an essay, including all of that, which I'll show you through this video step by step. So I'll treat this video as like a complete introduction of the integrated writing question. So this video may be a little bit longer, a little bit more thorough, detail, to cover everything you need to know about integrated writing task, okay? So when you actually go to the test, literally, you get the same screen. This is why I prepared this way. You get a reading passage. You can scroll down, up and down for entire 20 minutes. And there is a right-hand side screen like this, exactly the same in the TOEFL test. And there's a cursor blinking, and there is a keyboard provided, of course, for you to type to finish your essay, start and finish your essay. So this is the outlook. And when the reading passage is first appear on the screen, you're given 3 minutes extra. So that's outside of the 20 minutes you're given to write the essay. So it's outside of that 20 minutes. You're given extra 3 minutes to do whatever you want with the reading passage. So you need to write reading passage note, okay? And after that, listening passage will be played only once. So you need to write very good notes about that, because the task is essentially summarization of the listening passage, as I mentioned just before, okay? And then after that, 20 minutes clock is on, and you need to write the essay after the listening passage. Okay? All right, so first thing first, we need to summarize the reading passage in 3 minutes. Today, just for the purposes of this lecture, this class I'm doing right now, I won't show you real time within 3 minutes because I want to go step by step and be really thorough. But in my other videos, not all of them, but some of them, I'll certainly demonstrate live to take notes of the reading passage within 3 minutes. I will do that, but not today, okay? And what else? Okay, so you might ask, when I write the essay, if the reading passage is provided while I'm writing my essay, why do I have to use 3 minutes to summarize the reading? That's a valid question. You may ask that if you're actually thinking about this task, right? The reason is listening is related to reading passage, as the question tells us, okay? So it's discussing about the same topic, and listening and reading will have opposite viewpoint most of the time, probably like 90% of the question. I'll tell you the exceptions in other videos, but rest assured you get contradicting opinions when you go to the test, right? So the structure is the same, length is about the same, number of body paragraph is the same, it has an introduction paragraph just like reading. So when you write the essay, you need to be able to compare and contrast the listening and reading on one page of your note-taking. You must be able to do that, to do this task well. So you must be able to write notes and understand the reading passage completely before listening passage is played, so that you can clearly understand and give yourself the best chance of catching everything and writing down really good notes on listening when they play it after 3 minutes. So it's a must, okay? To help you get everything in listening passage, you must be able to master the reading passage in 3 minutes if possible. But keep that in mind. You don't have to focus on details too much on reading passage in 3 minutes, because reading passage doesn't disappear like listening passage. It will be just there for you to use for the whole remainder of the writing task. Okay, so obviously we will need to do the note-taking for the reading. So let's go. All right, reading here. Okay, let's read together. In the United States, it had been common practice since 1960s. There's typo here, sorry. Not to suppress natural forest fires, so just leave it. Don't put it out, okay? Just leave the forest fire. The let it burn policy, okay, let it burn. Okay, let it burn itself. Policy assumed the forest fire would burn themselves out quickly without causing too much damage, okay? So because they thought if you just let the forest fire burn itself, it would just burn themselves out quickly without too much damage, right? However, so probably there was a huge damage or something changed to this policy, right? In the summer of 1988, forest fire in Yellowstone, the most famous national park in the country, oh my God, burned for more than 2 months. So it didn't burn out quickly, right? It was burning, that's horrible, right? And spread over a huge area, encompassing more than 800,000 acres burned effectively. whatever that means, just huge area probably. So, you assumed let it burn policy and something horrible happened, okay? Following let it burn policy. Because of the large scale of the damage in this fire, many people call for replacing the let it burn policy with a policy extinguishing, so putting out the fire, extinguishing. Extinguisher is, thing you use to put the fire out, right? So extinguishing forest fire as soon as possible. The three kinds of damages caused by let it burn policy were emphasized by critics of the let it burn policy. So we could write all this down in words, like listening passage, like in a concise form, but we don't need to. Like, we can see this reading passage. So all we need is a thesis statement of the introduction paragraph. What is the thesis? The last sentence. Why? Because it gives us the perfect clue, the link to the body paragraph, okay? So three kinds of damages caused by this policy were emphasized: first, second, and third. So, we need to read it and make sure and confirm, but rest assured, we're pretty certain that it will be first type of damage that let it burn policy brings or fires in Yellowstone caused, second type of damage, and third type of damage, right? Okay. And listening will say, actually, it's not true. That damage was not like that or something like that to oppose it. Okay, so first thing first, let's focus on reading passage. So in introduction paragraph, because I can see the paragraph after 3 minutes, I'll just write down the thesis statement. I'll just write down 3 damages caused by the let it burn policy were emphasized, right, by critics. Okay, so we are opposing the let it burn policy, right? So that's introduction paragraph. And first body. Okay, first, Yellowstone fire caused tremendous damage to the park trees and other vegetation. So this Yellowstone fire or let it burn policy caused huge damage to trees and vegetation, okay? Damages to vegetation, right? Trees are, of course, part of vegetation, or trees and vegetation, whatever, okay? So that's a topic sentence, as you can see, very direct. I mean, we need to check by reading the second and third sentence, but it looks like, pretty clear, direct topic sentence to me, okay, at this point. Okay, so how does it back it up? When the fire finally died out, nearly 1/3 of Yellowstone land has been scorched, has been burnt out. That's terrible, right? So detail is 1/3 land burnt. Trees were charred black from flames and smoke. Smaller plants were entirely burnt off, incinerated. What had been a national treasure? So this is the minor details to me, right? Okay, supporting the previous sentence of 1/3 of Yellowstone land had been scorched. Okay, so all these trees were blackened, burnt, and small, plants were completely incinerated, burnt off, right? Supporting this sentence, so I won't bother. What had been a national treasure now seemed like devastated wasteland, right? So this is really major detail. 1/3 of land burnt, so all vegetation of that 1/3 land eradicated, right? Horrible. So probably if we format it, 2 details and main idea, format. which is ideal for TOEFL every time. And also this is a good practice to write good listening notes, because listening, to be safe, if you're going for the perfect score, it's always the ideal to be able to notate one main idea and two details that supporting main idea per body paragraph. That's a secret for success. So we'll practice that, okay, in this reading passage, although we may or may not need it to write it when we write the essay, okay? So national treasure went to devastated wasteland, okay? Because of too much damage to vegetation, or, you know, all vegetation in 1/3 of land burnt off, basically. All right, second body. Second, the park wildlife. So first was vegetation, second is wildlife, so animals, you know. Wildlife was affected as well, okay? So second is huge damages to animals, wildlife, okay? Or negatively affected, right? Large animals like deer and elk were seen fleeing the fire, okay? So they kind of escaped, you know, they ran away. Many smaller species were probably unable to escape. This is horrible, right? So probably they were trapped. And, you know, you can only imagine, burnt off, it's saying. You know, if there was a fire and if you cannot escape, you know. Anyway, they're trapped, right? There was also a concern that, so that's second detail. So we'll break it down, first detail here, right? Large animals fled, and small animals trapped, right? Okay. There was also concern that the destruction of habitat and disruption of food chain happen, would make it impossible for the animals that survived. So survived here probably in connection in this paragraph would be the animals that fled, right? So survived, but kind of left the national park. You know, they cannot come back to the park because of destruction of habitat and disruption of food chain. So the important point of the second detail is the destruction of habitat and disruption of food chain, right? And you could write, if you want to be really detailed, you know, so they couldn't come back, right? But, you know, that's the point, right? Animals, because of the fire, you know, destruction of habitat and disruption of food chain, negatively affected animals, you know, kill them or make them cannot come back, right? Yeah. Third, the fires comprise the value of the park as tourist attraction. Yeah, I bet. I mean, who would want to visit here now? You know, it's all burnt. So value as a tourist attraction decreased, which in turn had negative consequences for the local economy. Pretty long sentence, but still direct. Looks like the topic sentence. We need to double check in the next sentence, but you know, so the value of the park as tourist attraction has gone down, which had negative consequences to local economy. Okay. So how does it? It's pretty self-explanatory, right? People would not come because it's burnt, and business that survive from the tourists, you know, they would suffer, right? It's pretty self-explanatory, the topic sentence. But let's have read to make sure. With several thousand acres of park engulfed in flames, so burnt, The tourist season was cut short and a large number of visitors decided to stay away. Yeah, I bet, right? There's nothing to see. It's all burnt and maybe even dangerous. So they decided to stay away. First detail, large number of tourists. Okay, stay away. Of course, local business that depended on park visitors suffer as a result. So, self-explanatory, okay? Local business that depended on this tourist suffer. Because, they cannot make as much income because there are not enough business. All right, so pretty perfect, I think. Without reading the reading passage, let's just read this note-taking to make sure how good is our note-taking, okay? So, in the reading passage, it states there are 3 damages to let it burn policy stated by critics. First, a lot of damages to vegetation because the fire burned 1/3 of the park. So national treasure became devastated wasteland, right? Second, a lot of damages to wildlife as well, because large one fled, smaller one trapped, destruction of habitat and food chain. Animals cannot live there, right? Or died forcefully. Third, reduced value as tourist attraction, and it negatively affected local economy because large number of tourists stay away from the park. So local business depended on these tourists suffered as a result. Perfect, right? So reading passage, note-taking done. Yeah, I told you this video may be a little bit longer than other videos because I'm treating this as like a guide, blueprint, introductory video to help you completely. So I'll take my time and be really detailed, go step by step. So what's the next step? Listening passage will be played. Okay, so I'll change the screen and play the listening file right now. Let's go.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Actually, fires are a natural part of the ecological cycle, and their role is not just destructive, but also creative. That's why the let it burn policy is fundamentally a good one, even if it sometimes causes fires on the scale of the 1988 Yellowstone fire. Let's look at what happened after the '88 fire. First, vegetation. As you might imagine, scorched areas were in time colonized by new plants. As a matter of fact, the plant life in Yellowstone became more diverse because the fire created an opportunity for certain plants that could not grow otherwise. For example, areas where the trees had been destroyed by the fire could now be taken over by smaller plants that needed open, unshaded space to grow. And another example, seeds of certain plant species won't germinate unless they're exposed to very high levels of heat. So those plants started appearing after the fire as well. It's a similar story with the animals. Not only did their populations recover, but the fire also created new opportunities. For instance, the small plants that replaced trees after the fire created an ideal habitat for certain small animals like rabbits or hares. And when the rabbits and hares started thriving, so did some predators that depended on them for food. So certain food chains actually became stronger after the fire than they were before. And last, fires like the '88 Yellowstone fire would be a problem for tourism if they happened every year. But they don't. It was a very unusual combination of factors that year. Low rainfall, unusually strong winds, accumulation of dry undergrowth that caused the fire to be so massive. This combination has not occurred since, and Yellowstone has not seen such fires since 1988. Visitors came back to the park the next year and each year after that.
Okay, how much did you get? Yeah, I thought it would be better to show you in a bigger screen. So actually, I kept the file that I wrote, reading passage, like how you would really do it. So on the left, you need to write reading notes. On the right, you need to write listening notes on the same page when you actually do the test. So I try to do the same, but maybe, you know, I cannot like change the size of the writing. It just became too big. I don't know, but, you know, I hope you can kind of, you know, see it clearly. So I'll explain to you. Okay, so the listening said fire is a natural and natural part of ecology. So it's not just destructive, it plays some creative role. So in one sentence, she is opposing the reading passage by saying, actually, let it burn policy, although it was unfortunate, huge scale of fire may happen like it did in 1988, but fundamentally, generally, let it burn policy is actually a good one. Okay, all right. So it's not negative. It's fundamentally, basically good. It's not a bad policy. So she rebuts the reading passage by first, vegetation. She says, new plant will colonize the burnt area. Okay, so burnt area will be colonized by new plant, meaning new plant will grow in the place where it is burnt, right? And it will make vegetation actually more diverse than before the fire, because it creates more opportunity for diverse different plants to grow, new plants to grow, right? For example, so this is a topic sentence, or maybe until here, right? And this is a new first detail, because it creates more opportunities for new plants. And then this is like a second detail, how, right? For example, small plants that need unshaded area, so they need direct sun, so they couldn't grow before the fire. And some seeds that needed extremely high heat to germinate. So, you know, the fire burnt off other plant, but this fire, the temperature, maybe crack open the seed to grow. So, you know, these are kind of opportunities that the fire provides to these new plants that, you know, didn't grow before the fire, right? So small plants that needed unshaded area, or seed that need extremely high heat to germinate, can appear after the fire, right? So second body was about, yeah, the writing became massive. Sorry, I couldn't like, you know, because I made a like a screen twice bigger, so existing writing size, letter size became a bit bigger. Okay, but anyway, if you remember, if you go back to the video, like 2-3 minutes. Okay, second was damage to the wildlife. Okay, and about wildlife, she says the wildlife not only recovered, but actually it created a new opportunity to, you know, grow better. Same as the first body, really. Okay, it created new opportunities for wildlife to be more diverse. Okay, And the detail here starting, the small plants that started to grow in body 1, for example, that didn't grow before, okay? It provided ideal environment for some small animals, okay, that thrived. And this condition created predator animals that relied on these small animals to thrive as well. So actually, in some areas, food chain became even better than before, okay? So third, for this fire to be a problem for local economy, it has to happen every year, but it doesn't happen every year. So this massive fire in 1988 Yellowstone, fires of that scale does not happen every year at all. So it's okay, right? And the detail was, it was very unusual factor and condition that created Yellowstone fire. So it hasn't happened. So factors and condition hasn't happened, meaning the same scale of fire hasn't happened since, right? So neither, it's the same thing. Of course, this is a cause, right? You need to have this unusual factors like temperatures and dryness, blah, 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 to result as a big fire. So this condition hasn't happened since, meaning we didn't have the same scale of fire since 1988. So actually, second detail, tourists came back to the park as a tourist attraction 1 year after the fire, 1988, and they've been coming ever since, each and every year. So for the beginner student or intermediate student, you may understand, but you may not have, not only able to take notes at this level, but you may have not understood everything you heard. So I'll play the listening file one more time, and let's kind of match our notes to the listening to confirm our understanding, okay, and kind of understand what we need to do to get the perfect score. Okay, so let's go.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just...
So I'll use the cursor to guide, okay? So you can look at the screen, or you can look at your own notes, whatever is the best way for you. But I'll guide with the cursor, okay?
Just read about.
Actually, fires are a natural part of the ecological cycle, and their role is not just destructive, but also creative. That's why the let it burn policy is fundamentally a good one, even if it sometimes causes fires on the scale of the 1988 Yellowstone fire. Let's look at what happened after the 88 fire. First, vegetation. As you might imagine, scorched areas were in time colonized by new plants. As a matter of fact, the plant life in Yellowstone became more diverse because the fire created an opportunity for certain plants that could not grow otherwise. For example, areas where the trees had been destroyed by the fire could now be taken over by smaller plants that needed open, unshaded space to grow. And another example, seeds of certain plant species won't germinate unless they're exposed to very high levels of heat. So those plants started appearing after the fire as well. It's a similar story with the animals. Not only did their populations recover, but the fire also created new opportunities. For instance, the small plants that replaced trees after the fire created an ideal habitat for certain small animals like rabbits or hares. And when the rabbits and hares started thriving, so did some predators that depended on them for food. So certain food chains actually became stronger after the fire than they were before. And last, fires like the 88 Yellowstone fire would be a problem for tourism if they happened every year. But they don't. It was a very unusual combination of factors that year. Low rainfall, unusually strong winds, accumulation of dry undergrowth that caused the fire to be so massive. This combination has not occurred since, and Yellowstone has not seen such fires since 1988. Visitors came back to the park the next year and each year after that.
Bang. Okay, perfect. So we're all done. Now we need to write the essay. Okay, so I will show you the essay in one screen or on the left while looking at the notes on right. I'll have a look at that. I'll pause the video and set that up, and we'll go sentence by sentence and tell you some template you can use and how these notes in the listening and reading becomes the final output of your integrated writing answer. All right. Okay, let's go, guys. Okay, guys, you need to write something like what you can see on the right side of the screen in 20 minutes after, gone through reading notes in 3 minutes and listen to the passage and write notes. After that, you're given 20 minutes to complete what I'm going to show you as like the model essay. Okay, so this will definitely get you the perfect score. Okay. So we've got, if you look at the left, this is the notes that we have taken, but it's just resized it, So we've got introductory paragraph and body 1, 2, 3. So it's pure summarization. You are not expressing your own opinion at all. So we don't need a conclusion paragraph. We actually should not have a conclusion paragraph. Okay, that's wrong thing to do. So we just summarize introduction paragraph and body 1, 2, 3. Okay. So ideally, every time, write introductory paragraph in 3 sentences. Okay. So talk about what is the topic that both reading and listening passages are talking about. Okay. So you could say, both reading and listening passages are dealing with, so that could be the template you could use, or, I would show you many different template in different videos that I'll produce in the future. Both reading and passages are regarding, or, both reading and listening passages are discussing about, something like that. Okay. So this could be a template you could memorize and use, and you need to put the topic of discussion in here. Okay. In this case, the let it burn policy, right? So that's first sentence, done. Second sentence, or in different question, you could say, for example, both reading and listening passages are dealing with whether let it burn policy is positive or negative, something like this. Okay, because they're saying, one says it causes damages and some says it's fundamentally good. Okay, so it's always like agree, disagree kind of passage that is given, reading versus listening. So you could use that, or just state actual topic. Both are fine, right? So first sentence done. Okay. Second sentence, write the thesis of the author, the reading passage. Okay. So the thesis is the author, the reading passage, whatever, states that there are 3 significant damages that can be caused by let it burn policy, something like that. Okay. Or critics emphasize 3 damages that can be caused by let it burn policy, something like that. Okay. So one sentence thesis from the reading passage notes. So here, this sentence here. Okay. So the author presents 3 types of damages caused by the policy, because we said let it burn already, the policy during 1988 Yellowstone fire, to be exact, because 1, 2, 3, they are specifically talking about what happened due to the 1988 Yellowstone fire, right? So I decided to be perfectly specific. So one sentence, done. And third sentence, however, okay? And you state your listening passage thesis, right? However, the lecturer in the listening passage, or according to the listening passage or listening passage states, okay? Let it burn policy is a fundamentally good one, right? So you need to write this into a sentence here, okay? Right, so the lecturer rebuts all the ideas presented in the reading because it, essentially says damage to vegetation. About vegetation, no, there's no damage, it's replaced. And more diverse. About wildlife, no, wildlife recover and even gives new opportunity, improves food chain. And value as a tourist attraction reduced? No, it hasn't reduced, they came back, right? So it directly rebuts point by point. Like you could almost paraphrase and say the topic sentence here, like, the lecturer and the listening says it does not damages the vegetation. You could even come up with that kind of sentence. It directly rebuts, right? Like 180 degrees. So about the same topic, damages to vegetation. No, no damages. Damages to wildlife. No, no damages to wildlife. Okay. Damages to the value. No damages to the value, right? So you can make a short sentence like the lecturer in the listening rebuts all the ideas presented in the reading. That's fine, okay? So pretty easy introduction, right? 3 sentences, perfect scores. Let's move on to the body paragraph. I like writing listening first because, and obviously I produced many students, including myself, to score perfect score, 30 out of 30 in writing, and also 120 out of 120 in the whole of the TOEFL test. So this is tested and proven. And my logic is that, you could write reading part first. I don't think it's you'll never get full mark if you write reading passage first or vice versa. I'm not one of those the person that is not telling the truth and hype up the issue. I don't want to do that. But my logic, I have many reasons why I teach this way and encourage my students to write the listening part first. But if I can choose one reason to, I guess, try to persuade you to write the listening first, it's just that I'm sticking to the question, okay? The direction of the question clearly stated to us that summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard and how they cast doubts on the points made in the reading. So the subject of summarization, or main part, the majority of the part, dominant part of my summarization, the subject of this summarization should be what? Yes, listening passage. So for me and for my students, we can produce a lot more direct, simple, and accurate, mistake-free sentences when we write directly, right? So I like writing listening first. And that's what the direction asks us to do as well. It doesn't say like summarize the reading. No, it says summarize the listening part. But when you do that, make sure you show how they relate to the reading, how they cast that doubt to the reading. It doesn't say summarize the reading passage, okay? And I have many other reasons why I do this way. And also it helps you to write a bit cleaner and direct and accurate sentences, in my opinion. But anyway, okay, I just wanted to persuade you, and I just wanted to explain to you rather than say, just do it this way, okay? That's just not me. So sorry if I went a bit long, but I think it's important to explain the reasons why we do certain things, okay? So I write listening part first, and then I have a transition sentence. It's a template you need to memorize that triggers the reading part, okay? So I do exactly what the question asked me to do. So I summarize the listening part, and I say, this is this kind of relationship to the reading passage, which says that, and I briefly mention the reading's contents. Okay, that's my style, and serve me and serve my student very well over a long period of time. So you can trust me. You can trust me sounds like robber. Okay, all right. Yeah, you can trust me. It's tested and proven. Okay, so first, I'm going to write the listening part first to get the perfect score. Topic sentence is colonized by new plants, right? The lecturer in the listening explains that, so that's template. So I make sure it's a listening part in my first body, but I omit that from the second body, okay? So first body, I do put in one more word to make sure that I'm safe. The lecturer in the listening explains that, template. New types of plant eventually occupy the burnt area after the fire. So I paraphrase a little bit, but this is exactly the same as this content, right? So topic sentence. New type of plants colonize the burnt area after the fire, right? And detail. The fire created opportunities for new plant to grow to make the vegetation more diverse. So that's this part. That's this part right here, right? So new type of opportunities creates more diverse vegetation, or more diverse vegetations are created by new opportunities after the fire. Okay, so that's this sentence. Okay, the fire created opportunities for new plants to grow and make the vegetation more diverse. And I need to write this part. So one main idea sentence, two major detail. That's what I'm looking for. That's a formula for perfect score in integrated writing. For example, so these two, okay? Small plants that needed unshaded space and certain seeds that required high level of heat were able to thrive after the fire. Okay, so I'm perfect so far. I've got all the details. I got topic sentence, I got major detail, I've got an example to back it up. One main idea sentence, topic sentence, and two details. I'm complete. Okay. So until there is the listening summary. Listening summary. Okay. And I use a transition sentence to let the scorer know, now I'm going to go to the reading part and compare how my listening part relates to the reading part, how my listening part opposes to reading part. Okay, so I use this sentence that can be used as a template. Okay, so I would say this as all of this, what I've mentioned so far. Okay, so this, the reading summarization, contradicts the reading's argument that. And then I say, reading says this. Okay, full mark. Okay. Or this sentence can be paraphrased in next paragraph, like this disagrees the reading's argument that and states reading's argument, or this disagrees, contrast, you know, just paraphrase this word here. Okay. And maybe this word here, readings claim that. Okay, just show your linguistic abilities. So I have this bridge expression to move on to the reading part. And I like to write only one sentence of the reading part. Okay, so, but just to write topic sentence sometimes is too risky. So out of two details, if I think one is a major detail and one is a minor detail, I just write major detail or one detail out of two. Or if I think both details are quite important to back up the topic sentence, I very briefly summarize these 2 points and stick it in as one sentence. Usually, I like writing in one sentence, make the reading part concise and brief. I don't want to write, very long reading passage summary. That's not the purpose of this question, right? Okay. So sometimes, and even sometimes, if I think the details are so self-explanatory, then sometimes I just write the topic sentence. But it may be a bit risky to get the perfect score for this task. It may be too short. So I try to, make sense of what is a major detail, or how can I effectively really summarize and put this as like a one whole point. Okay. But I try to write it brief. Maximum 2 sentences about the reading. I never write more than 2 sentences. Okay. So listening part, I try to write all 3 points that I wrote down as a summary in my notes. Reading, I write it in 1 sentence or maximum 2 sentences. So I make sure my listening part is longer and more detailed than the reading part. I make sure of that. Okay. But reading section, you must have the topic sentence written. Otherwise, you get a deduction, of course, because you have to show the relationship. So you have to say, reading's main point is this. You must. If you don't, you're not going to get very good score. Okay, you cannot not write reading's idea. Okay, so the first one, I said reading states that it damages the vegetation because 1/3 of the land of the park was completely burnt after the fire. Okay, that's how much I would write about reading. So if you see my model answer here, the Yellowstone fire greatly damaged the park's vegetation. So this is the reading summary, guys. Okay, this is the reading summary. And this is the listening summary. And this is the bridge sentence that goes to reading from listening. Okay? Yeah. So Yellowstone fire greatly damaged the park's vegetation because in 1 sentence, the fire burnt nearly 1/3 of the park's land. All right, so from second paragraph, I'll speed up a little bit because I taught you all the format. Yeah, remember, sorry if you knew all these things. I treat this video as like an introduction to how to write integrated writing, from the scratch. So those of you who knew a little bit more, about this task. This video will be a little bit long, but you know, it's a good strategy video. It's a complete video, and I'll speed up from this paragraph. Okay, so as I said, listening first, right? So second, the lecture states that template. So this, I need to put it in the sentence, right? The fire created new opportunities for the animals, right? So yeah, not only it recovers the population, so I thought it wasn't really important. Okay, more important thing is the fire created new opportunities for animals to thrive, right? So lecture states that the fire created new opportunities for the animals. So topic sentence done. And I need to tackle this part. Small plant created ideal habitat to small animals, right? For example, new smaller plant in the previous paragraph provided an ideal habitat for some smaller animals like rabbits and hare to live. And I'm going to put this into one sentence. And this, which means how smaller plants provided ideal habitat for smaller animals to actually live. This fact also helped some predators that depend on these small animals to live as well. So predator, on top of that, were able to live by, you know, having more small animals that they need to live. So that's done. Okay. So therefore, I'm going to say some food chains actually improved, right? Therefore, certain food chains became stronger after the fire. So my main idea, too detailed, complete in the listening section. Sorry. So my main idea and detail 1, detail 2, complete in listening passage. Okay. And I'm going to have a bridge sentence, right? This argues against the reading's claim that. So after that is describing what is the reading's claim. So I can summarize the reading after that. Okay. So this, what I mentioned so far, argues against the reading's claim that. So reading's claim is the park wildlife was also damaged by the fire. Okay, so damages to wildlife. Because large animal fled, small animals were trapped, and the habitat and food chains are all destroyed because of the fire. So damages to wildlife, right? So how I'm going to reduce this in one sentence or two? Park's wildlife was also damaged by the fire, as some animals were trapped and others that escaped would not be able to return, right? Because destroyed habitat and food chain. So if you wanted to write a little bit longer, you could say, I would not be able to return due to destroyed habitat and food chain. Okay, if you want to write 4 more words, okay, but that's fine. Last one. So listening first, finally, the lecture claims that fires like 1988 Yellowstone will not happen every year to cause problems for tourism or cause problems for local economy or negatively affect local economy, okay? Or to cause reduced value as tourist attraction, whatever, it's the same contents, okay? So I wrote this sentence based on It will not happen every year. The fire like Yellowstone 1988 fire will not happen every year to negatively affect the local economy, right? So my sentence is, finally, the lecture claims fires like 1988 Yellowstone fire will not happen every year to cause problems for tourism. Okay. And I need to write, it happened, this massive fire in 1988 happened under very unusual factors, but it hasn't occurred since then. So this massive fire happened under very unusual combination of factors during that year only, 1988, which has not happened since. So such a fire, so fire like 1988, huge fire, has not happened. Okay. So that's done. So just this part. Okay. As a result, tourists came back from year after the fire. So came back from 1989 and every year after that. So don't worry. Local economy is fine, right? Okay, visitors has come back from a year after the fire from 1989 and each year after that. Yeah, perfect. Very excited. So LC, I've got a main idea. I've got a detail 1. I've got a detail 2. So my summarization is complete. Okay, perfect. So I've got a bridge expression to move. See how I change my words a little bit every sentence, every paragraph. Okay. So this opposes the readings claim that, so that's template, and I can just summarize the reading part. Okay, so my reading part was, the fire decreased the value as a tourist attraction and causes negative consequences to local economy. As tourists stayed away, local business suffered, right? I mean, as a summary, like, the topic sentence should be enough to get the full mark in this question because it's so self-explanatory, okay? Like decreased value as tourist attraction means, people did not come as a tourist. And negative consequences for local economy means, nobody could earn enough money from the tourists, right? Okay, so topic sentence alone may be fine here, okay, because it's so self-explanatory, it's obvious, right? The fire decreased the park's value as tourist attraction and damaged local economy, so I went word for word. Because reduced number of visitors, tourists decided to stay away. I paraphrased a little bit. Negatively affected local businesses. Okay, so that's how I paraphrase this part. Yeah, there you have it. So how did you find it? Hard? Easy? If you had patience, I don't know whether you find it fun or okay or a little bit boring. I hope it was okay or fun. I try my best. But, if you kind of spend the time to really watch the video and try to understand and do all the exercise as same as I have shown you, then I'm sure, you have understand the basics and how to, of course, you have to practice to, improve your skills and ability to get the full score, to get the perfect score, but at least a blueprint of how to write integrated writing. I like to hope that this video would really help you and pretty much completely help you in explaining to you how to write integrated writing section of the TOEFL test. Okay, so that was my goal for today's video. I may do it the same detail or speed up a little bit in other videos or next videos and show you different things and maybe show you a demonstration how to do 3 minutes summary. But, you know, there you go. So yeah, I like to think that this was a complete guide on how to write integrated writing essay and get the perfect score. So thank you for watching till the end. I hope it was helpful. That's what I'm here for. And I'll see you again in my next video. Until next time, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Bye for now.